So in his book, which is out tomorrow and which will make a great holiday read, it's called Hunting Killers. The dedication within this, Mark says, I've written this book to help those victims and their families who have been let down by the authorities and systems that are meant to protect and help them. So they are your motivation.
Absolutely. I think there's so many people out there, and I know this because when I do a programme, I get correspondence from people. Please, can you help me with my case? My sister's gone missing, my mum's gone missing, my father's gone. Those types of crimes, and the fact that there's people out there who have had loved ones murdered and the police just haven't solved it. So I use that experience that I've got from as a police officer, my profile in terms of the media, to be able to shine some light in the darkest of corners. And of course, I've shown that with some of the cases I've done. You know, the result from Jimmy Saville, putting that into public domain, has changed policies, it's changed procedures, it's landslide effect. And I've tried to do that with other cases. And sometimes it takes years. You know, the answer of getting, the way of getting an answer straight away is often not there. What I've tried to do in the book is bring my insight into how I undertake investigations.
But how do the police forces respond to that? Because they will have had teams on these crimes for years, and then suddenly you turn up. What's their reaction to you?
By and large, they're really cooperative because what they want to do ultimately is solve the case as well. They hate, as a police officer, you go into the job because you want to help people, you want to solve crime. So when I come along and say, look, let me look at it in a different way, let me give it a public profile, let me look at some of those aspects that perhaps you haven't had the resources to be able to go and do, let me speak to people years on who perhaps now are confident to talk to me, and they do. And every
so you're not
case...
necessarily, when you say something's been missed or a piece of evidence, you're not necessarily criticising the police. You're just saying, let's take a fresh pair of eyes sometimes.
Absolutely, and don't forget, things change. You know, the way they investigated things 10 years ago to the way they investigate things now is very different. DNA's changed, forensics changed, and in fact, I talk in the book in terms of some of the analysis through evidence, through pathology, looking at some of those aspects in terms of how we use that as investigators to try and solve cases. And it is a real insight into the day-to-day working that I do. And I've tried to peel back the layers as to how I've done investigations. So I go right back into how I investigated Jimmy Saville. I go right back into how I got access to interview Oscar Pistorius.
And where did that kind of motivation, that drive come from to pursue the Jimmy Saville case? Did you always have an instinct about him?
No. I mean, I was coming back. I was doing a piece for BBC Newsnight. I was coming back on the plane, and the producer said to me, have you ever heard anything about Jimmy Saville? And I said, he's a weird bloke. No. And he said, well, there's quite a lot on the internet about him being an offender. And that's really where it started. And then I picked it up and I went to ITV and said, look, I think this is a really big story. The BBC had said they're not going to do it, and the ITV bosses said, look, let's run with it, let's see. And we did it really quietly. We did it everything on paper. We took it off the computer system because we didn't want other people knowing what was going on. We didn't want it shut down by someone getting hold of this. And we ran it and we ran it. And of course, ultimately, the media got behind it and we made a programme, and you know, the rest is history, really, in terms of helping people.
You talk about what's changed over the years. What hasn't changed is the ultimate sacrifice, death. You say death has a unique smell. I've been in the presence of people who have killed. I've been in rooms where people have been killed. I've seen the unspeakable things human beings are capable of. Does that ever put you off?
No, and in fact, it drives me. My passion to help people. And I don't do this for money. Of course, I have to earn a living, and I do. But, you know, I'm not rich. I do this because I care about people. People contact me all the time saying, can you help me? And I can't do them all, but I'll take on as many as I can. And I think in terms of people, you know, I use an analogy in there when I say, you know, everyone is capable of murder, and I genuinely believe that. I do genuinely believe it, absolutely. You know, I've dealt with so many people who are offenders, who you would never say was capable of murder, would never say, but something in them.
There's a difference between killing and murder, isn't there? I mean, I think everybody's capable of killing, but murder is...
Well, killing and murder, I use that as the same analogy. Yeah. So, but everyone's capable of killing. Everyone's capable of killing somebody.
Do you believe we could all be tipped over the edge something by something?
I think there's things in our head, you know, our mental state is changes, it's movable all the time. And if something happens, I dealt with a case once where this man came back from the pub, loving relationship, came back from the pub, he was drunk, he told his wife off because she hadn't cleaned the windows properly, and it resulted in him killing her.
He killed her?
Yeah, just an incredible situation and he was a really genuine bloke prior to that. And the other things, writing a book has been a massive challenge. I'm dyslexic. I've fought that through the whole of my life in terms of putting structures in place to be able to help me. So getting to a position where the likes of Transworld Penguin take on a book that puts my case together. And what I've tried to do is impart my passion about what I do to the next generation.
And other people are passionate about it. I mean, people are fascinated by true life crime. Why do you think that is? Are we all kind of armchair detectives?
Well, look how many channels are available.
Yeah, I know.
On satellite TV.
I think we are. I think, actually, it's very interesting. It's middle-aged women predominantly, and also the younger generation coming through podcasts, where we've got the true crime serials that come through that.
You've got a podcast coming up
And I've got
as well.
a new podcast that's starting the end of September called The Detective, which is going to look at potential miscarriages of justice, because I think there is a real genre now in terms of the younger generation listening to audiobooks, listening to podcasts. And the fascination, my Investigative series is predominantly middle-aged women who are fascinated by listening to crime.
And
I
you've also
hope there
got
are plenty of those middle-aged women watching us, because there's going to be a new series of crime specials from Mark to us. Hunting Killers, it's available from tomorrow.